Welcome to yet another edition of In Depth, a show that looks at what is making mining headlines in the Americas. Rescue efforts have begun to bring the 33 Chilean miners trapped underground to the surface. And Liz O'Hill joins me to discuss this development. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Martin.
How are the miners being rescued?
Just a couple of days ago, as we've seen on the television, the first shaft being drilled by rescue workers broke through to where the miners were located. The rescue workers then protected part of the shaft that they drilled with metal casing, just to protect against the falling rocks or debris that might block the hole that they drilled. So that was just some reinforcement that they put in. And then just in the last few hours, or the last 24 hours from when I'm talking to you, the first rescue worker was sent down to the narrow shaft that has been drilled, and the first of the miners was hoisted to the surface. The men are being hoisted in a narrow capsule that has been specially built by the Chileans with help from the Chilean Navy. And this 4-meter long capsule, it's been named the Phoenix, is being used to hoist the men, these 32 Chileans and 1 Bolivian, who have been trapped underground since August 5th. They're being pulled up to surface from through this 26-inch hole that's been drilled. Now, according to reports from the site, the men have been divided up into 3 groups for the rescue. The first group is the fittest men, that they've been pulled up one by one, and it was presumed that they would be able to help provide information to the rescuers and potentially also assist in different ways with the rescue operation. The second group were the physically weakest of the men, and then finally the final group included the shift foreman and the man who really reportedly has sort of led the efforts of survival while they've been underground.
How did they prepare for the trip to the surface?
Well, on the physical preparation, we hear that the miners were given mineral-rich and protein-rich foods to help prevent nausea and to help with their blood pressure as they were pulled up the 625-meter shaft that has been drilled. They'd been given psychological assistance through the drill holes that had been drilled before the rescue. They'd been speaking over the phone, having long sessions with psychologists. They'd also been put on a special diet, not only to ensure their health, but just to make sure that they were going to be able to fit well into this very thin and narrow, not only the shaft, but also the Phoenix capsule. And then also been working with trainers on exercise regimens while they were under there. Then more on the psychological side, also they've reportedly been given media training, practicing mock interviews, receiving advice in how to deal with really what we have seen is the media frenzy and spotlight that has been placed on their story. But these guys have all been underground and haven't really been exposed to it until now. So I think the Chilean government really has tried to provide as much assistance and preparation as they could before they emerged from underground. And then just as they were coming up, we've seen the men wearing dark glasses to protect their eyes. Obviously, they've been in this dim lighting underground, so the medics were concerned. They gave them the dark glasses. Also, coming up through the capsule, they had gas masks, oxygen masks, and we've seen some of the weaker, maybe the older and more frail miners have been wearing those oxygen masks as they ascended up to the surface.
And what is next for the miners?
Well, one thing's for certain, it definitely seems like their lives will be very different from the lives that they led before they went into the mine on August 5th. Already the Chilean philanthropist has donated the equivalent of about $10,000 in Chilean pesos to each of the miners. So obviously, to begin with, it was a jubilant. They emerged from underground, were reunited with family and friends briefly, and then moved on to hospital for medical treatments. But certainly, we're hearing reports of book deals, movie deals being proposed even before the rescue was properly underway. The families were being approached. then of course the first interview after the rescue will certainly be something that is being sought after. And just interestingly, I was reading Bloomberg reported that the men, while underground, they reached a verbal agreement amongst themselves of what of the ordeal and of their experiences they would all agree that could be made public, and then there were some things that they agreed that they would keep private. So it certainly seems like they have been coached and prepared as much as possible, or to a certain degree. But I think it certainly is going to be a very, very different world that they're emerging to. The Chilean government reportedly has agreed to provide at least 6 months of psychological support and assistance to each of the miners in an effort to just help them adjust to being out here, to the spotlight and the frenzy, and just help them, I suppose, move on with their lives.
Thank you, Lizzo. That's the show for today. Join us again next week for more news and insight on mining in the Americas. I'm Martin Joaquin in Johannesburg.